guys, hope you're going well. Guess what? It is already the midway point of 2014. It is the end of June, and I wanted to share with you some things that I've been watching this month. Not things that I've seen at the theatre, more like things I've seen on television and DVDs and Netflix. To start it off, I'm going to go through a couple of things I rewatched, so these are things I'm watching for the second time. Possibly third time. So I watched the Avengers. I saw that it was out on Netflix, and it's just like such an easygoing popcorn flick, and like whenever I watch it I feel like I'm watching it with all my friends. You know, you've got all those familiar properties that all have their own like individual movies, so to see them all come here together, it's just like a big club. Iron Man, Hulk, Black Widow, really like Hawkeye, not really a Captain America kind of fan. He's alright, I guess, but love Loki. Loki is the most awesome bad guy. I think he is just so good. This month was also American Father's Day, and don't quote me on exactly what day it was because in Australia we have a completely separate date for Father's Day. But to kind of celebrate or in honor of that, actually it was kind of not really planned, but halfway through we're like, oh yeah, this is like the perfect Father's Day movie. So that was Finding Nemo. So adorably sweet. It's just so funny and clever and amazing animation, and of course it's kind of set in Australia, so I love that too. There were a couple of films that were rewatches, but here is a new film that I did not see at the cinema. I don't know why, because I really should have, but finally I got around to seeing it. The Lego Movie. Oh my goodness, this movie is all kinds of awesome. It is so good. The Lego Movie is directed by Christopher Miller and Phil Lloyd, I believe are the names, and those two also are behind 21 Jump Street and also the sequel, which was out just last month, 22 Jump Street, which I didn't really love, but there are totally separate reasons for why I didn't really connect with that kind of romance silly humor. I don't know, it just kind of didn't work for me. I also got to see the movie Once from 2006, so this is a modern day romantic musical from writer-director John Carney. The main reason I wanted to check this movie out is because John Carney has a new movie coming out called Begin Again, and that has Mark Ruffalo, Keira Knightley and Adam Levine, so that's why I wanted to see his first movie first. I'm not a huge fan of musicals, so while I did think the music in this film was very beautiful and really kind of raw and down to earth and had a lot of passion in it, I just don't think the movie spoke to me on a way that it could have if it didn't have music. Now the movie is about a busker in Dublin who meets like an immigrant who's living there from Russia, I believe, and the two of them just sort of form this connection and this friendship. They both manage to connect over music. They both have a great passion for music, and they really do express their feelings for each other through their music. So it's very sweet. I thought it had a really nice raw street level approach to this story. It was kind of, I don't know, it just wasn't very polished, and I liked that. I thought that was cool, but as someone who is not particularly drawn to musicals in general, it just didn't really hit the mark for me, but that's totally a personal thing. And again, I don't want to prejudge his new movie Begin Again, but I don't think that's something that I am going to be particularly drawn into, but I still definitely want to see it anyway. I also got to see a couple of foreign films, both coincidentally from Asia, the first one being Sympathy for Lady Vengeance. Now this is actually part of a trilogy. I'm not sure in what order it comes in because each of the films stand completely alone. It's just that each film in the trilogy deals with this similar sort of theme. But the other films that come in the trilogy are Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and also Old Boy, which I've seen Old Boy, so I've just got Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance to go. But Sympathy for Lady Vengeance is really a really crazy film. So it follows the story of this woman who gets out of jail after being in jail for 13 years for a crime she didn't commit, and that is the murder of a very young, like 6-year-old boy. And when she gets out of jail, she decides to take her vengeance into her own hands and bring the man who wronged her to justice. So it's been 13 years that she's been setting up this very elaborate and intricate plan to bring him down, and the way she goes about it is just so so amazing. It's just really, it's unlike anything I've ever seen before, and it really does address the issue of vigilantism and if it's okay for you to enact your own sense of personal justice if you feel like you have cause to. So really you're acting, I mean, she's acting outside the law. What she's doing is ethically completely wrong, I guess, but this man is responsible, so does he deserve to pay for what he did? So I thought that that film is just really, really incredible and so well done, and highly recommend it. The other film I got to check out was from Japan. This film only came out last year and I missed it when I was in the cinema, so I was really glad that I got to catch up on it, and that was Hayao Miyazaki's final film, The Wind Rises. I have to say this film really felt quite long. I don't know how long it is exactly, but it feels long. I do love Miyazaki's other films, Spirited Away, Ponyo, Howl's Moving Castle, Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind, and my favorite would probably have to be Princess Mononoke. So I think I really love his body of work, so I was very much looking forward to catching The Wind Rises. The difference with this movie, The Wind Rises, is that it's kind of a little bit more grounded in a real historical time and place. It's set during the very beginnings of World War II, and it follows this engineer who actually does the design planning for the World War II Japanese fighter planes. But it concentrates on him and his personal story and what happens around him. It's kind of clever how it balances that theme of destruction versus the theme of beauty. Like, he's creating these really beautiful engineering marvels, and what they go off to do once they leave his hands is something entirely separate and different and disastrous, but what he does is really quite beautiful. So I think it's a really beautiful story, and the animation is just wonderful as well, so I really enjoyed that. For something off kilter and kind of random, I got to see this really awesome 60s movie called Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, and it was so cool. I'm disappointed that this film doesn't have more of a cult status, because it is in the same vein as something like Sunset Boulevard. So it follows these two sisters who live together, and they must be, I don't know, in their 50s, in, you know, the later part of their 50s, and one of the sisters, the younger sister, she was a child actress, and the older sister is now in a wheelchair, but it was the older sister that had more fame and success as an actress in the long run. It is just so creepy as this younger sister slowly deteriorates into this madness, reverts back to her childhood fantasy where she's the center of her own universe. And to see these two sisters, like, the majority of the film all takes place in the house. The older sister wants to help her, but the younger sister just cannot help herself. So it is just watching the two of them go back and forth. It's just like a tennis match, and it is such a cool film. I was really happy to have seen that. To wrap it up, I'll just mention for television, I have been not watching too much lately. I am halfway through the second season of Orange is the New Black, and I am quite enjoying it. I think it's kind of funny that Piper, our main character, is kind of the least interesting of all the characters. So they've really created this really nice supporting cast, and through lots of flashbacks we get to see some of these ladies, how they got into their situation, how they, you know, through fault of their own, through fault of loved ones, through accident, how they made it into this situation, why they're all in jail, and how they've all come there. I actually heard someone else say this, that Orange is the New Black is kind of like Lost was, so, but in a jail. So if you remember Lost, how they kind of, they're on the island and they flash back to the previous, what they were doing before. It's kind of a lot like that in this season, I'm feeling. But yeah, I'm liking a lot of the other characters way more than Piper, the main girl. In fact, the main girl's kind of getting too annoying for me. and whiny, but yeah, I'm enjoying the season and I look forward to finishing it off hopefully in the next week or so. They are some of the things that I have been watching this month. Please leave me comments down below, let me know what you've been watching, especially on Netflix and things that are new to DVD. What am I missing out on? There is so much great stuff, and without recommendations it's so often that these things just kind of fall under the radar and I completely miss them. So yeah, please recommend. I absolutely love recommendations and word of mouth comments and that kind of thing. It really helps me out. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, keep up to date with my other movie reviews, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!